After ripping and tearing his way through Japan, William found himself locked up once more. His actions and experiences all undone, as if by magic. To escape his confines for good, he'll have to fight fire with fire. And by fire I mean magic. And by fire I also mean magic. It occurred to me while I was magically on fire. Having been robbed of my tools and levels, I won't be starting with any equipment. As such, I'll be punching my way out of here, like a true wizard. In my previous video on this game, I stated that you don't get to keep any of the things here. I'd like to formally apologize, as I was later informed that this is incorrect. You get to keep the items you plunder along your way. They're sent to your storage box, the one that I didn't really have a use for. Anyways, once I get out of here, I'll be using exclusively magic to deal my damage, heal, and so on. To clarify, I mean the abilities granted directly by skill points. Consumable magic attacks don't count. This as a whole, though, does come with two notable exceptions that we'll get to later down the line. For now, I've got a Derek to punch. His charge attack is super easy to dodge, and it's really easy to bait out by getting some distance from him. This is true in both his first and second phase. It's so easy, in fact, that it only took me several attempts to kill him. Listen, I never sincerely said that I was good at these things. Turns out, though, most of the characters in this game are based on historical figures. I've spent a reasonably large amount of time making fun of Kelley's name, but no more. Not this time. Instead, I'm going to make fun of the fact that for all of his fame and alchemy, only one of us is still alive. Take that person who lived hundreds of years ago. Anyways, I literally kicked Derek's ass. My best friend got kidnapped, I got shot, swam to safety after I died, then I got a fleet of boats to sail to Japan. Now, if William had 5 ships, and lost 4 of them, how many men did he condemn to a watery grave? The families you've ruined in search of your spirit friend. Now, to start my build, I went with 1 body, stamina, and a shark for 1 spirit. Basically just a boost to my health, carry weight, and spirit is complicated. It buffs my magic damage a bit, but it's gonna be more than that. If I was smarter, I'd probably put those points into something like skill instead for the purpose of my armor later down the line, but I'm not that. When I first stepped onto the shore, I picked up all that I could to level up. I absolutely have to, because I don't currently have any means of dealing damage. You can get plenty of Emerita to do so just by collecting items around the area. It did mean getting to a slightly higher level than I expected before I was able to fight back, but I got there in the end. The downside is that before starting the run, I thought I would have access to a wide range of abilities, and that's partially true. I will eventually. For now, I only have 1 offensive ability. It summons my spirit to do a little bit of damage. Or, more often, miss entirely. And then leave. I can use it 3 times per rest, and I don't have a way of fixing either of those problems for a bit. So, the shark. It sucks. It hits like a freight train, but it comes out incredibly slowly, usually misses most of its attacks. I'm just relying on enemies not moving to be able to do anything against them. For some reason, it hadn't even slightly occurred to me that the spirits would behave differently when summoned, so good job on the dev side giving some variety here for an ability that I'd imagine most players will never even see. Gotta love that kind of attention to detail. I spent an unfortunately high amount of time farming Emerita before coming to the conclusion that I was gonna need something more effective to get me anywhere. So I restarted and came back with the Fire Dog. It's still not great, but it's leagues better than the shark. It also took me way too long to realize that your spirit doesn't scale with your magic level. It scales with, and make sure you're sitting down for this, make sure you're ready for this revelation, it scales with your spirit stat. Crazy. I know. With my new spirit in tow, I made my way to the first boss. And for the record, yes, I tried all 3 spirits, and I didn't like my odds with either of the other 2. Now, back damage. Love it or hate it, it's certainly one of the mechanics of all time. The dog sort of pierces larger enemies. It hits a handful of times, but your spacing needs to be damn near flawless for it to actually hit the thing in the back to get the most possible damage out of this. And as you can see, I really don't have any to spare. The only real solution to this was to farm an absolute ton, and eventually get lucky enough to get a higher unlimited magic roll on my armor. Basically, I found armor that gives a chance to not consume my abilities when I use them. After several hours of farming, I can... Are you serious? Are you serious? So I have talismans that cause it to take more damage, but this literally just relied on unlimited magic proccing multiple times. And after around 10 hours, the run can finally begin. Apparently there are stories about Shinobi being able to tell the time by the dilation of cat's eyes, so by storing one in his attire, he has a living pocket watch? He needed that to tell me that dawn is breaking? Would the fire not play a role? Or the fact that it was covered only moments ago? Does he always have that with him? Including when he's running, jumping, exploding? What did he do to that poor thing? Now, did I say the run could start? That's not accurate. See, this game gives you access to dojo missions to improve your skills, but not if you're me. No, magic comes later. Right now, we're stuck with the same garbage attack. I meet a cat who will be instrumental to my journey, by which I mean lore-wise. Gameplay-wise, it has about as much impact as that guy right there. Yeah, I'm looking at you. First time for everything, huh, bud? Useless prick. While I did some minor farming through here, I spent the majority of the game just running past enemies. It's not like I have the resources to spare. I eventually got to the area's boss. I'm not sure why some things just freeze up my game. I'm hoping the sequel runs better. It's not like it's even drawing that much of my computer's output, it just sometimes doesn't like running. This boss's first attack every single time, for instance. Now, this boss. This godforsaken boss. One of Magic's biggest shortcomings is that it comes out incredibly slowly. And in the time it takes me to cast once, I could manually file my taxes, do the dishes, my laundry, have a quick nap, and still have enough time to get back so I could watch William miss every goddamn time! Why are you doing this to me? She's right there, man! You ain't even close! She dodges. She just dodges! And it wouldn't bother me that much, except this fight requires a couple of conditions. Or alternatively, a ton of farming that I don't want to do. To beat her, I have to get enough damage on her back. With this positioning, it means aiming at her front. Seems counterintuitive, but it works. She's easily knocked down, but you more or less have to attack her after certain attacks of her own. Then I backed off to let the fire do its thing. And also, I needed unlimited magic to proc at least twice in the same fight to have enough uses of my talisman to kill her. At the time, I had around a 1 in 8 chance to trigger it with any given attack. So most attempts at the boss literally didn't have a chance to beat her. It was just running the numbers over and over again. The worst one was when it procced 3 times, and I completely wasted it. I just missed repeatedly, took a lot of damage, and died. I wanted to cry, but I eventually got through. Yay, gambling! God, I hate gambling. For my efforts, I was able to get my hands on a new spirit. A bull, to be more specific. Its hitboxes are a bit odd. In immediate melee range, it either misses, or might as well have. Some slight spacing is fantastic, as it can hit twice, with the second tick doing a monstrously high amount of physical damage. The mission was a quick run-through, as is the spirit, and unfortunately, the boss was not. You may be looking at these damage numbers and saying, my, what a wonderful time of RNG you're going to be experiencing. And yes, but not in the way you'd think. Attacking normal enemies is basically out of the question, but this boss, in particular, can be hit in the chest for massive damage, but only at incredibly specific times, which I have to balance with this garbage cast speed. Otherwise, yes. There was more RNG than you can legally shake a stick at without receiving harassment charges from RNG and a cease and desist from your local forest. Once again, this fight came down more to getting a good string of luck than getting good at the game. I got lost again, but found my way significantly faster than my first journey through this hell pit. I got a little help with some combat, but I'm not doing that damage. Doesn't count. I got you on a technicality. I finally catch up to some loser. You died! And one day I will too. All of my loved ones. Such is the cycle of life. Great, now I'm sad. Just for that, I'ma kill ya. Or... oh. Yeah. Okay, so... this boss is fun. By fun, I mean he can fuck. I did a lot of testing between the dog and bull. The long and short of it is that the dog will generally do less damage, less reliably, and I hate it. It can do back damage. Sometimes. The rest of the time, it just pushes the boss out of the way of any danger. So, the bull it is. Problem being that the boss blocks every second hit. Or, in other words, most of the damage from the bull. So, after a long while, I developed a strategy that looks an awful lot like this. The second tick of the bull's damage can knock him over. I can use that to continue to hit him until he dies if I have the damage to support it. And no, I can't get closer to him with both ticks. He'll just get up and block the second one. The only way I have to increase my damage here is the talisman that lowers his defense. Otherwise, it's just a numbers game. Beautiful simplicity. I ended up farming a lot. When I started, I needed 7 bulls to kill him. To tell you how bad things got, I ended up starting to use screenshots to check how the fight went. It was close enough that I had to load them into an image editing software to take pixel measurements to know exactly how much I could deal. By the time I could beat him with only 6 bulls, I was doing literally only a single pixel more than half of his health with 3, so... thin margins. On my final attempt, I got 2 procs of my unlimited magic, and after spending most of my recording day on just this section, I decided to use a sacred brush to get 1 more use. A consumable item that gives back slightly less than a third, or in this case, 1 use of my magic skills. Just enough to bring down the boss, and finally move on with my life. Seriously, teleporting is overpowered. It's a plot convenience at best that I ever catch up with this guy. I got a new spirit though, one that never actually did anything for the run. I also finally have access to a dojo mission that can improve my overall build. I can finally get my hands on some real magic. None of that fake magic nonsense. The first major get is an elemental attack in every flavor. Basically just shoot a ball of the given element. And oh how my build finally has those magic changes. My jutsu list arranges. It doesn't matter how many times your boss fight hurts me, something about the big fella is just really cute. I'll see you soon! And, oh yeah, you're a boss fight too, huh? Don't worry, I'll be embarrassing you later. Oh, so we're already at the poison area. Fun. Yeah, I didn't miss this place. True to form though, I spent most of my time through here running, because there's not a lot else here for me. So, the Centipede. My opening move is to throw a bolt. It pierces through a lot of segments, doing a ton of damage. Which is great. What's not great is that I don't have nearly enough damage to kill it. I ended up respeccing from Spirit to Magic to better support the rest of my build. Still though, it wasn't enough to get the job done. I ended up using a talisman that causes swords to burst from around me. Basically, my prickly personality has been made a physicality. I can slowly kill it by standing close. Also, I gained weapon familiarity for this, which is odd. The next issue to deal with though is that I suck. I need to hug the boss, and I couldn't really survive that. With sword in the air around me, rather than my hand, I was able to deal plenty of damage, I just needed to live long enough. I specced into some talismans that would help to go the mile. One that provided a constant heal, another that gave me a set amount of pure protection. And these spells I got on me, they're like magic. Got me feeling like falling in love. Afterwards was everyone's favorite mission. One where you need to run over narrow walkways while avoiding a lot of enemies. Also light some beacons so you can fight the cutest little terror of the deep you ever did see. Believe it or not though, I didn't fall off the map even once. Until right there. So ammo is a problem, because of course it is. I decided to use my sword talisman whenever it's over here. It's not high burst damage, but it adds up quickly, and relatively safely. My cast speed is too slow to hit the weak spot with most attacks. The only real exception is the big beam attack, so that's exactly the attack I waited for. As a result, yeah, this fight took a while, but the poor fellow's really weak to fire. So when I was more confident I had enough left to spare, the rest of the fight went by really quickly. Like, that's damage befitting a king. So here's where things got a little bit different. So from here on, yes, you can realistically do the rest of the game with just what I have now. You will run into issues with ammo. You could also, theoretically, always roll unlimited magic and never have to worry about it at all. Similarly, you could win the lottery. That doesn't mean you should hold your breath waiting for it. Frankly, I'm done gambling with this game. This enemy can't take water damage. I only have water damage. If I can't beat this enemy, then I can't get any more spells ever. People often ask me, why do you do this to yourself? And the answer is simple. Curiosity, and the fact that I find these runs genuinely fun. At least on some level. This, though, is not. So because I think the run will be more interesting, and because I think it'll be more fun, I used the Dojo weapon to get through the mission to unlock more spell uses. If that's too much for you, then I understand, but at the end of the day, I want to be enjoying what I'm doing. And there's no world in which that's going to happen without this compromise. I also took the time to get my final spear for the run. Surprisingly simple, and early to unlock. Basically just fight some enemies. Believe it or not, I didn't even need the magic upgrade to get through. Easy as pie. Which is a terrible saying, because both the mathematical and dessert-based pies are difficult. But either way, this little buddy of mine gives me an additional 15% to my unlimited magic. Also some magic power, but I'm honestly just after the number of uses more than anything. I met with a body double as some sort of test, and I know Hanzo comes up in the story more often than not, but it's strange to me just how little connection I felt with him this go-around. Like, I hardly interacted with him at all. And then, of course, everyone's favorite part of this game. Everyone's favorite part of every game! There are spiders in this video game. So, thanks for that. Yeah, assholes! God, they don't generally bother me that much, but something about these ones really irk me. And no, I don't feel even remotely bad about cheesing my way through this encounter. Or any encounter, really. What can I say? I value results. And, next comes something I never wanted to have to do. This boss is really tanky. It's hard to hit its weak spots, and I wouldn't reasonably have enough fuel to kill it, so a ton of my damage came from the sword talisman. I just need to hug it until it dies. Dance, magic, dance. Dance, magic, dance. Oh, the biggest smell of me. Ew. I found myself in a winter wonderland. Ice crystals and butterflies as far as the eye can see. I meet a lady that can't seem to let it go, and she hits both hard and fast. Or I'm under-leveled wearing armor that I got in the first mission. No, it's definitely a her thing. Now, this build uses statuses. A lot of them, in fact. One of the most important is Confused. When an enemy receives 2 different elemental status effects, they also gain Confused. They take more damage, they can be stunned more easily, and it's generally in my best interest to try to apply it if I can. Hard to accomplish sometimes with how fast they drain and how slowly I throw out spells, but doable. As is this fight. I met the teacher who will eventually help me magically. And seriously, how are you supposed to trust someone who makes it very clear that they don't trust you? Relationships tend to go both ways, buddy. I remember spending more time traversing before. In all fairness, I had less of an idea of where I was headed. I also skipped finding the Kodama this time, but there's something genuinely quite nice about being able to get through this place without being bogged down by things like holes in the ground. The path led me to the Sad Man, and the incredibly poor choices of my peers led to me having to fight the Cat Guardian. And I didn't really get a good taste for how fast he was before. He's pretty quick. At least when compared to the world's slowest caster! What are you even doing? I had learned that it's good to enter fights with your buffs already active. It was hard to get through using a talisman otherwise. From there, though, you can pick a spell. Any spell. They sealed away some spirits, and they didn't even ask for my help. Honestly, I'm right here, and I'm just feeling left out. They didn't even ask how I was feeling about it after. The whole run up until this point, I was dreading 2 things. Spiders, because they're gross of course, and the shinobi. They're extremely fast and aggressive. My god, are they both of those things. I wasn't really sure how I was going to get through this, but it turns out their attacks are just slow enough to distance myself and retaliate. Also, my extra health talisman was pretty consistently outstanding. That's true of the entire run, really. Perks of not improving your armor for most of the game. Then, of course, there's spiders and shinobi at the same time, because someone on the dev team is a terrible person. This, of course, would eventually culminate in a giant toad fight, as most things tend to do. He has tons of wide openings, but he also has some really weird hitboxes. It took me longer than it should have to get into the flow of the fight. I ended up deciding to take a few minutes to farm out the emerald required to wear a new hat. It was so much longer than a few minutes. With it, though, my casting speed has improved. I can't really tell how fast it does or doesn't look to you, but to me playing, it was night and day. For the first time in the entire playthrough, magic finally started to feel viable. I was able to apply confusion a lot more easily. And once I got that on him, down went the toad with a pretty insignificant amount of fuss. After getting by Hanzo's creepy father, I got access to the next Dojo mission. This is by all technicality possible, but it would require luck beyond luck, and I used sticks. Oh hey! Do you like not being able to see things? Well then, do I have a location for you! You get to simulate what it's like to have glasses that haven't been cleaned in... ever. God, I hate virtual fog. It's like real fog, but ugly. And of course, every mission ends out on a boss. I think this one is new, though. They must have added it since I last played. Turns out, it's a pretty brutal yokai, though. Like, wasn't really sure what I was meant to do here. I'm even less sure what the hell I would do if I didn't have my improved cast speed. But my main goal was once again to confuse the boss. First and foremost. At some point, I did start to have to incorporate enemy elemental weaknesses. Basically, just avoid using anything they're resistant to, reallocate my magic capacity towards anything they're weak to. This is true of pretty much every boss from here on. And Confused doesn't last forever, but you can get some really good damage while they can't move. Just make sure they can't move. I paid with my life almost every time I stopped watching those status timers, because I would just stand there hucking talismans. Worked out pretty well sometimes, though. And like that, I made it disappear. Do you mind if I just stand here and stare at you?
A world without war.
I'll declare war on anyone who's against it. A bunch of purple crystals do a Kingsman, and people start killing one another. Other people are kidnapped. Gotta go there and help out as usual. One of these days, someone else is gonna have to start contributing to this bloody peace effort. In the meantime, though, I've got the arbitrary sewer level to contend with. And I can't tell you why exactly, but I keep expecting my spells to stun enemies. It's a problem. I don't know how I got so far into the game while still being so wrong about how magic works. First boss fight for this area is this guy. You just gotta break the crystals that rapidly heal while trying to avoid this guy that's at least somewhat quick. I was almost done with the fight when I got jump scared by this ranged attack. It scared the crap out of me when it happened, and I can't say I even know why. Luckily, the crystals stayed broken, so only one was waiting for me when I got back. Why? Why can't you defeat yokai? Hit them with pointy things. It's not that complicated. Like, sure, the giant sea monsters, the massive spiders, the generally really powerful demons, whatever. But you're telling me that you can't even fight basic mobs? You're saying that I could pit any of the pickaxe-wielding dudes that can't even consistently stay standing against your entire army, and they'd still lose. Who's paying you? However much you're getting from them, it's too much. The final boss of this area was a lot more important to a different run. This time around, she was mostly important in showing off the Sloth talisman. She's dangerous because she's fast. The Sloth talisman fixes that. She still tries to dodge a lot, but you can just stack so much damage on her that it doesn't really matter. Once she starts going slow, she doesn't stand a chance. You can even refresh the slow before it wears off, so easy boss. Kelley's here to kidnap the woman that I just saved. Luckily, I wasn't late. A wizard is never late, nor are they early. They arrive precisely when they mean to. Look how peaceful all of these soldiers look, ready to be bathed in the blood of tranquility. Ah, man. This whole place is burning, and a lot of enemies here are more dangerous than the ones I've seen before. It'd be a real shame if I ran past everything to get to the nearest shrine as fast as I could. What a shame that'd be indeed. Oh no. It's an edgelord! My only weakness! Wait. No, it's not. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what this guy's fight looks like. He flies upward on paper wings that burnt up in the atmosphere, sent him spiraling down, landing somewhere right down here with no one else around to catch him falling down. And I'm casting at him now. To make matters worse, though, at some point in the fight, he decided that blocking and trying to outlast me would be a smarter option, but it just meant that I had a consistent and unmoving target. It was incredibly easy, and he died on the first try. Apparently it took long enough for the backup to finally get here, though, and they left. Alright then. Wait, I think I came here looking for something. It's probably not important. Let loose the cannons of harmony! Charge forward to carve out serenity from their very flesh with your blades of kindness! I'm having a lot of trouble seeing anything through this fog of... not war. I did eventually see myself to the floaty fella, and in so many words, Sloth talisman is overpowered. I went from struggling at least a bit with bosses to being able to relax. Most of them try to close distance, so you can sort of just continuously run away while applying whatever your heart should desire. Then confuse, rinse, repeat, another first try. I was on my way to the next boss of the area when I was reminded of an incredibly valuable lesson. Do not stand directly in front of a cannon! How true that is. I was told some folks really struggled with this boss, and maybe someday I'll know how or why, but today will not be that day. I got really lazy or sloppy, so he ended up killing me, but really, not all that dissimilar from the last guy. So Kelley uses the lives of 300 people to cast a spell summoning a giant skeleton. This is called a sacrifice, but it's not. The men were not consenting. They were their own people, and they were murdered. Just given to Kelley. He killed them ridiculously quickly and against their will, so why did it have to be the men of his ally? Why not the enemy? If all that matters is the body count, then why use your own troops? Why? I went around driving stakes into crystals, as one does with their afternoon, and decided it would be best capped off with a world-ending Skellyman. What nobody counted for is just how dangerous I would prove to be. The skeleton is weak to all elements, so in a sense, I beat it on my first try in the same way that I beat everything in this run. By being a motherfucking sorcerer. Dante, is that you? If I have to deal with one more map full of fog, I'm gonna scream. I already can't afford to visit an eye doctor, you don't need to rub it in. You're pretty tough, huh? Let's see how you hold up to Sloth powers. Heh. Slow and weak, just what I was hoping to— oh god! No, but really, he's not so bad. Or, I guess he is bad. If he wasn't, he might pose a reasonable threat. It's important that he survive here, though, and revert to his human form with no visible signs of repercussions of the transformation so that he can learn a very valuable lesson about his actions and how they affect others. And then be executed before the game is even finished. But who cares? He learned his lesson before he died, so it all works out. The next area is full of yokai that explode in one shot from their matching element. Easy Amrita. Easy enemies. Why is there a bloody grave here? What could have... yeah, that seems about right. You know, there'd be a lot of encounters where I'd be screwed if the AI wasn't absolutely terrible. Lucky me. Yeah, lucky me. I do genuinely enjoy this game, but sometimes it feels like it's just testing me. Look, I know I was making fun of you, and I know that's not fair, but you need to learn to let things go. Not that making fun, you can stay mad about that. But you dying doesn't mean you can go around trying to resurrect people. Oh, real mature. Sick your samurai on me. I see how it is. Well, I'm just glad that he's both slow and a pushover. Seriously, confusion is a lot. Like a lot. Some of the status effects in this game are really nice to play with. Okay, last mission. Sort of. Seriously, that's still really pretty. When we get home, can we remodel our place to look like that? No? Just me? Alright, fine. Let's go. Stay back and let a pro handle this one, guys. I know just what I'm doing. Oh god, help! Okay, yeah. You can handle it. It's fine. Still within the rules. I'll just be over here if you need me. They didn't even try to follow me up the path, though. They were 100% set on me having to do this by myself. Most of the path is still up, too. The hell, you guys? I had to handle some bosses again, and some of them were easier due to the improvements I'd received. The things that I learned about the game. The skills I developed. Others were harder because I got really lazy along the way. Then there was one in particular that just makes me uncomfortable. I'll give you one guess as to which one. Then this guy. I'll admit, I had to actually fight him. Shameful, I know. He swaps elements around and throws his own spells at you. Some are considerably harder to avoid than others. I hate stun-loxic games. Receiving them, to clarify. It feels considerably better to be on the other side of things. By Sloth standards, he's even pretty quick though. When he swaps elements, he becomes immune to it, and its status, even if he had it on him before the swap. With a bit of practice and care taken to my actions, he would go down just the same as the rest. This cutscene seems a lot more fitting like this though. That being said, even if the Warlord isn't going to kill me, William clearly isn't moving. Kelley has a clear shot, 1,001 ways to kill, and he ain't moving a muscle. The hell, man?
You wasted my time.
He wasted yours? Or you wasted yours? Consent is a hell of a thing, dude. He didn't ask to be brought back. Even if he did, you can't just force him to do what you want because you did something for him. That's scummy, gross, and you should feel bad. Well, he's gonna come to regret not killing me rather instantly, as it's time for us to go toe-to-toe. He dodges a bit, mostly blocks, and yeah, those numbers aren't exactly gonna get me anywhere fast. Except maybe the grave. No offense, man. Turns out, Kelley is extremely resistant to all of my elemental attacks, which is great. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to get through without some extra luck, until I remembered our friend from earlier. Swords! They're magic, it counts. He is still pretty dangerous though, even slowed. His ranged attacks come out fast. The best strategy I found was to stay behind him, give him some space when he starts swinging because his attacks can be weird. His AoE attacks are huge, but he can be knocked out of them with any given elemental shot. I have plenty of damage to deal with a sword talisman, so it was all just a matter of outlasting him. In a panic, instead of teleporting to safety like he's done countless times up until now, he summons a big snake. The heads get different elemental resistances based on their color, but they're otherwise pretty lackluster. Are you seeing how much damage I'm doing? And without much fanfare, the final head would go down. Or most of the way. As far as I can tell, you have to use a melee weapon attack here to proceed. Not even the sword spell counts. I was really hoping, but with that, it passes. Kelley does nothing to flee or defend himself, and only one big bad would remain. The cause of it all. I'd venture back to London, get horribly lost, find several copies of Kelley that are for some reason not even remotely resistant to spells, get killed several times, eventually get through to meet this guy here. And the final fight could begin. He's got lasers, he's got plenty of eyes, and there's probably some beauty somewhere in there because there is no way that is not a beholder. My first attempt, it looked like swords were the way to go. The eyes crowd around doing a really good amount of damage, but in the end, like many before him, he became debilitatingly confused. So I say to you, I'm the wizard that you saw in visions. Atoms splitting. Twisting. Now you cease existing. Hexalate. The day is saved, or something, to that degree. Hopefully this time William can stay out of captivity. As if by magic, he made his way through this game slinging spells and giving hell. Honestly, not a bad time. I still think I prefer the brutal simplicity of ninjutsu, but that comes down to personal preference. Honestly, when it comes to the DLC, I just didn't particularly feel like doing it. I might tackle it at a later date, but in any case, I hope you enjoyed your time here. You probably know how to use social media, and I hope that means I'll get to hear your thoughts now and on any future outings. Until then, remember to stay safe, spread some kindness in the world, and hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.